Wow, that was incredible. I also want to thank Mona Lisa. I think a phenomenal way to kind of segue into my conversation. But before I jump into it, I've got a little clip that I want to start off with.
But, Red, I really can't go on accepting these gifts, though you are awfully kind.
I'm not kind. I'm just tempting you. I never give anything without expecting something in return. I always get paid.
Well, if you think I'll marry you, just pay for the bonnet. I won't.
Don't flatter yourself. I'm not a marrying man.
Well, I won't kiss you for it either.
Open your eyes and look at me. No, I don't think I will kiss you. Although you need kissing badly. That's what's wrong with you. You should be kissed and often, and by someone who knows how.
Oh, and I suppose you think you're the proper person.
I might be, if the right moment ever came.
You're a conceited, black-hearted varmint, Red Butler. I don't know why I let you come and see me.
I'll tell you why, Scarlett. Because I'm the only man over 16 and under 60 who's around to show you a good time.
Well, of course, I'm going to choose a subject or a movie that is quite fruity and very dramatic, which is Gone with the Wind. I love this movie, not only because of the theatrics, but because it has a lot of honesty, which is really perfect for this conversation that I am going to share with you today. It's a truly, truly great day of industry's best. And I must say today, just joining on a number of different conversations that we had, incredibly inspired by the thinking, by the people that we have in our country within the IMC sector as a whole. And I think that now what's left to do is really be able to kind of throw all of that we've learned today into a blender. We have to mix it up and use not only what resonates with us, that excites us, but also what really challenges us as well. I must say that, thinking about all that has been shared today, talking about purpose, earlier on, Non-Tobacco was fantastic, around that Pepe, around the industry as a whole and the facts that were coming through. The conversation with Mike Brown and Kenzie was phenomenal around that. So it was a reminder for me that our industry is an exciting industry. It's an industry of great ideas. And I must say, we're really good at one thing as an industry. We're really good at taking the ordinary and making it extraordinary. And this is one of the things that I love the most about what we do across the entire value chain. We are so good at this that sometimes we even fool ourselves into thinking and believing that whatever we want is going to be true, whether it's actually fact or whether it's fiction. And this is exactly where the problem is. We believe that we are honest, and I think a lot of people talked about authenticity today, for an example, that we all have integrity, that we are transparent, and all those really good things. And interestingly enough, every single agency that's online today, as well as every single brand team and clients, they will all agree that honesty, that trust, that openness, transparency, shared goals, blah, 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 all of those things are very important in their functions. And I think for me, that's quite interesting because we know that we have to juggle a really hard reality, juggling quite a bit of what makes this industry what it is. And over and above the work itself that is supposedly at the center of what we do. We have to juggle what's above the water, what's underneath the water. And we have to juggle, what's seen and what's not seen. For an example, the conversation that Mona just had now around diversity. And that's the kind of conversation that we need to tackle and we need to look at as an industry because it's one of the things that we have as a biggest challenge. And I have to say, perhaps we must stop the juggling for a bit and ask ourselves the question, has honesty gone with the wind? And I must tell you, the simple answer is, yes, it's gone, okay? And I'm being dramatic. Because I think the truth is that we all work in spaces where sometimes we really do fail to be honest, especially when required, when it's also very, very difficult. In fact, exactly when it's difficult is where it matters the most. And I think part of that is a lot of different things that we've spoken about today, whether people are able to show up being authentic, for an example. Non-Tobacco also presentation around purpose this morning was another example. The diversity of the team, like Mona just spoke about recently. I think the big thing is, what is the biggest problem that we face that makes us not to be honest? And I must say, throughout my whole career as client and agency, I have collected a lot of receipts as to why this is the problem. And my career spans great companies and great leaders like MTV, Nando's, DDB, Ogilvy, and of course FCB way back in 500 before Jesus Christ was born. And as agencies, we've been peddling the same gobbledygook since then. And I really don't believe that we are better because of it. There's a lot of fear here. There's a lot of fear. And fear is not able to create a place for good work to thrive. And if I look at every single speaker today, one thing that is common with them all is that there's a sense of freedom that they have to create great work, but there's also a sense of honesty that they're able to bring to the work. Like the conversation that Kenzie had with Mike Brown not so long ago is a good example of a place where there isn't fear. Because the fear is real. The CMO lives in fear to lose the seat. The AD is trying to keep a job. The creative director wants to keep their creative turf. Black professionals are scared to lose their standing in white, male-dominated spaces. And it is the truth, and it is a challenge. And I think all of us know this. And I do acknowledge that saying we all have to be honest and be brave is not an easy thing. It's riskier for some of us. So if you're a woman, it's going to be challenging for you. If you're a black woman, even more challenging. If you're a black man, my goodness, challenge, big time. And if you're a black gay man or member of the LGBTIQ plus community, especially when you're transgender, there will be a lot that's at stake for us to be able to lose. And I must say, the thing is, we are afraid to say the things that are necessary. And that is why we find ourselves constantly fighting for a world that does not honor us. And that is a big problem in my eyes. So, not so long ago, I embarked on a black-owned communication agency that is now best in class, because my team and I believe that our industry can evolve and that it can change. Because I believe that what we think is possible is a major part of how far we can go. In 2019, we became the first black-owned and run agency to win Prism Campaign of the Year in the Prism's 22-year history. And this year, we became the first best large PR agency of the year. This is really cool, but it is also kind of embarrassing in a country that is serving majority black consumer. And I think that that is something that we need to look at quite closely. Truth be told, as an agency founder and chief, I fully understand the real fear that sits amongst agencies. The fear of long-term client relationships being at risk of extinction, as many reports have really proven, and many conversations have been had about this. And I must say, we know that we have to walk around eggshells, okay? We all know that our boardrooms are full of Emmy, SAFTA, and Oscar nominees, lots of actors and actresses. In the boardrooms, we walk on eggshells in many ways. And as a result, there's not enough honesty that's coming from agencies to clients, and even amongst agencies and amongst clients, and vice versa. And in fact, some clients even love it when agencies fear them. Ooh. The usual, I will find another agency is kind of very familiar in these streets, and so we know that and we know them. So the truth is, we cannot underestimate the serious barriers that are around us. We're not all having the same glorious experience of this industry. The barriers are real, and they are very much reinforced for many of us. And we know that we need to break these barriers and get rid of constructs that hold so many people to dishonesty in our profession. And it's a big ask, I know. And I know that you're probably sitting there and you're thinking, but come on, Sly, what are you saying? How can we be honest when our agencies are desperate for cash because we want to make money, so we're going to have to be dishonest to make money? Or when our clients threaten us for not complying with their own ideas or what they believe, even if it's not true. Or when procurement is making the decision on what is the best idea. Or when in your agency or in your brand team, there's not enough women or black women, for an example. When our agencies are untransformed is an issue. When our whole industry is untransformed, it's even more of an issue. And I think being long enough, being around long enough to know that that's something that we need to tackle and deal with. Because sometimes we're going to act like we are shocked, when we see brands do crazy, disrespectful work. We must not pretend that this is the first time that this happens, because we've been seeing it, and we've been doing that for many, many years. And it's just that now, it has a real consequence, and I actually love that. You can't just do that kind of work and expect to get away with it. There's a systemic issue with how brands and their brand teams manage their communication. And of course, the main problem being the lack of diversity, and I'm going to echo what Mona spoke about just now, or honesty in forums that approve such work. It's a good example, but it's just one example. Surely, somewhere in the value chain, from concept to execution, there should have been a team of people of color who could have been able to quite easily, raise that issue and deal with it. But dololo, nada. And I must say, the truth is, this is not just about being, emotional or ranting. There is a business case for honesty. And I must tell you that Clicks, H&M, Dove, even Gucci can attest to that. We must stop talking and just retweeting about all of this only. We know we must do something about it. We must be able to isolate these barriers, which we know full well. Get a deeper understanding of what's happening in our businesses and with our people. Make plans to address some of these issues and, of course, act on them individually. And I think that I have some ideas that I will share later on. Of course, I am born in this industry, so I love what we do. And I believe there's hope. And the reason we all invest time and effort to attend engagements like today and be part of this really great conversation is that we want to create a better world for IMC. A better ecosystem for the communication industry. Because we know that if we don't, I think Pepe also mentioned it earlier on, that EXCO sometimes don't respect us. We lose credibility as a body, and it will collapse. And if that continues to happen in our businesses, we're going to be in trouble. All we have to do is look at where we sit in importance as compared to 20 years ago. We know that in business, margins are getting tighter and thinner. Budgets are getting thinner and thinner. It's almost as if we're being forced into becoming a commodity. So, enough doom and gloom. How then do we get back to honesty? Because that's really what I'd like to leave you with today. I have already established that honesty has kind of gone with the wind. And more importantly, in your very own agency or in your office, in your brand team right now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because the truth is, too many people leave their true self in the car because the places that they work in don't nurture and they don't allow, people to be. Any place that demands that you shrink is a place that will suffocate your spirit and leave you gasping for air. I know I'm being very dramatic, but I don't know, just for effect. So we need to be able to stop just designing beautiful, toxic spaces, but we need to really get our design in terms of spaces to balance that visual and that emotional in terms of what the spaces do. We are often very much weighed down by other people's projections, by other people's preconceptions of us and patterns that they expect from us. And I can tell you now, as an agency owner, as a black man, as a gay man, that's something that I deal with quite often. Many people in this room are very, very courageous behind the keyboard. But they really fail to bring that courage in the boardroom or on the floor. So we know that usual thank you for your email or thank you for everything will send you the debrief. And then the debrief is a complete challenge. I did a masterclass with one of the top 5 banks a few years ago, and I got about 350 of them in one room, and I asked them to rate their work. So I showed their advertising, and then I asked them to rate it, whether they liked it or whether they didn't. 90% of the people in the room did not like their work. That says a lot. People are courageous behind the keyboard, but when they're asked face to face, they can't face the truth. And that's something that we know we need to change in terms of that. For me, collective wisdom is where it's at. This is all about the intersection of all our knowledge and expertise. Oftentimes, we really do make a big mistake by thinking it's about the black silo or the white silo or the woman silo or the black woman silo or the LGBTIQ plus community silo. But the truth is, it's really about building future-proof teams that are able to adapt to the times that they're in. It's not about shining in silos. The collective is where the wisdom is. And I must say, this is probably going to touch a few of you in your studio. The brand is 125 years old. It can't possibly be your brand. It's a team effort. You know, you are a steward. So doing best by brand and dropping the ego is something that is quite vital. And I think we've heard that, you know, all day today. Our collective, and as an industry, our job is to leave brands in a best shape than how we actually found them. Sure, you may have chief in your title or director, but ideas really do thrive in spaces where truth and where honesty, and I'll also add freedom, really do prevail. And I tell you what, if we don't do this, your teams, they study what they think is palatable to share, and soon you'll be running a circus that's masquerading as a winning team because you left too many terrors unchecked. And I must tell you, at the moment, even more important, we need to dial up on that compassion. Pretty please, because it's kind of challenging and it pains me that we have accepted that our industry is ruthless or it's cutthroat or it's unforgiving. So we kind of perpetuate that, you know, that energy. And in my mind and experience, these are all excuses to continue being toxic. And right now, it's pretty hectic, to say the least. So know that whatever that you're sending right now in your communication or whatever that we're doing as a team is filtered by various realities, including the pandemic. Do I need to say more about that? I'm only political turmoil, inequality, professional and economic difficulties for so many people. And I must tell you, the one thing that's important is that we must all understand that we're all human. And that's also one of the reasons why honesty is sometimes hard to come by. We have to place particular emphasis on the kind of people that we have in our teams, because I really do believe that rotten eggs will equal to rotten omelette, and good eggs will equal good omelette. And I think you must be a good egg. Very, very, very important. Now, the next thing that I want you to do is look at assembling an honesty squad. Just look at people that are going to help you do good. Our industry operates with people at the center of it all. And of course, ideas themselves, they need people. They're birthed by people. So paying attention to the people who show up with honesty over and over again is going to help you. Those people that have disagreed, that have showed their truth, that have shared their truth, that are solution-oriented, etc., are your people. Build your very own honesty squad to make sure that you check your level of authenticity that's coming out of your team. Now, I know I'm running out of time almost, the idea of being dishonest is really killing us, Batung. And I plead that let's not expect people to lie in order for them to survive. Your job is not to chameleon your way through life to the point where you forget your true colors. These pseudo BEE level 1 deals that are happening, window dressing, pseudo diversity, and all of that, we see through it. And it's actually, we are enough of it. I must say that ultimately, we need to create spaces that have got a good policy around fear. So let's allow people to be able to be free and be able to engage and align. And I must say, in closing, we're all fighting battles with the world systems and ourselves, battles that are easy to lose, because we know that it's much easier to keep doing what is comfortable. So standing against bland is just too much sometimes when your job is on the line. So if you're a leader in your agency or team right now, build up, build people, create an environment where people can express and be, get in and push people's growth and see magic happen. If you are middle or lower management in your agency or team right now, I ask that you ask people for honesty with your peers, create a space within your level for you to truly bring yourself to the table. And I must say, on a positive note, we are a legacy of a lot of things going right, even if a lot has gone wrong to get up to this point. And as a collective, we need to shake things up and build with honesty, because the danger is to one day look up and realize that we have safety netted ourselves into lives or jobs that feel like cages. We need honesty to create magic, because without it, we could just as well be working in procurement and comparing 3 quotes. Thank you very much for having me today.